Have you ever stopped for a moment and considered that something as simple as the way you sleep each night could quietly influence your overall health? Could it really play a role in balancing your hormones, improving your rest, and even supporting your performance as a man? At first, it sounds almost too simple to take seriously. And honestly, a little skepticism is healthy here. But stay with me for a moment, because what I'm about to explain is grounded in real biology. And for many men, it becomes a turning point once they understand it. Hello, I'm Dr. Jocelyn. I'm a urologist, and over the past 5 years, I've worked closely with men over 50 who want to regain their energy, their strength, and their sense of control over their health. And today, we're going to talk about something that most people overlook completely. Something that doesn't cost anything, doesn't require medication, and yet can have a meaningful impact on your body. It starts with what you wear to bed, or more specifically, what you choose not to wear. Now, you might be raising an eyebrow right now. That's completely fair. But by the end of this discussion, you'll understand why sleeping without clothes is not a gimmick. It's a simple habit that can support better sleep, healthier hormone balance, improved circulation, and even a stronger sense of connection and confidence. Before we go deeper, I want to ask you something simple. Take a second and tell me where you're watching from in the comments. And if you're someone who values clear, evidence-based information about men's health, make sure you stay connected, because these are the kinds of conversations most men never get to have in a clinic setting. Now, let's walk through this step by step. One of the most common patterns I see in men over 50 is this belief that their health challenges must require big, dramatic solutions. Hormone injections, strict diet plans, expensive supplements. And while those tools have their place, they're not always where the biggest changes begin. In reality, some of the most powerful improvements come from small, consistent daily habits, the kind of things that seem insignificant at first glance, but quietly influence your body every single night. What you wear to bed is one of those habits. Or again, what you don't wear. It may seem minor, but from a biological perspective, it directly affects your body temperature, your hormonal signals, your blood flow, and even how your brain processes rest and recovery. So when you wake up feeling tired, restless, or not quite like yourself, it's not always just about age. In many cases, it's your environment working against your body's natural systems. And one of the simplest ways to correct that is to allow your body to rest the way it was naturally designed to. Skin to sheets. Over the past 5 years, I've sat across from hundreds of men having very similar conversations. They come in concerned about poor sleep, low energy, reduced drive, or difficulty with intimacy. And yes, we talk about medical options. We discuss hormones, medications, nutrition, but I've been consistently surprised by how often small lifestyle adjustments create the most noticeable improvements. One of the most effective and most underestimated is simply sleeping without restrictive clothing. This isn't about trends or comfort preferences alone. It's about how your body actually functions at night. And once men understand the science behind it, the results often speak for themselves. So let's begin with the first major benefit: temperature regulation and the quality of your sleep. This is where everything starts. Your body operates on a natural rhythm. As night approaches, your core temperature begins to drop. This isn't random. It's a signal. As your body cools down, your brain releases melatonin, the hormone responsible for initiating deep restorative sleep. But here's where many men unknowingly interfere with that process. Heavy pajamas, tight underwear, synthetic fabrics, all of these trap heat close to the body. Instead of cooling down efficiently, your body stays slightly warmer than it should. And that small difference has a big impact. Instead of slipping into deep sleep, you may find yourself tossing, turning, or waking up at irregular times. From a biological standpoint, when your body can't cool properly, melatonin release becomes disrupted. That means less deep sleep, less REM sleep, and ultimately, less recovery. And the effects don't just stay in the night. They follow you into the next day. You wake up feeling foggy, irritable, maybe even assuming that this is just part of getting older. But often, it's not age. It's simply that your sleep cycle was interrupted without you realizing why. And when this pattern repeats night after night, it begins to affect everything. Your memory, your mood, your muscle recovery, and yes, even your sexual health. There's also another important factor that many men overlook: temperature in the groin area. For proper function, the testicles need to remain slightly cooler than the rest of the body. This isn't a minor detail. It's essential for hormone regulation. When that area is consistently exposed to excess heat, especially from tight or insulating clothing, it can interfere with testosterone production and overall reproductive health. Even if fertility is no longer a concern, testosterone still is. Because testosterone influences your energy, your motivation, your muscle mass, and your sense of confidence. So when you remove those extra layers at night, you're not just increasing comfort. You're allowing your body to return to its natural state, to cool down properly, to reset its internal signals, and to begin the process of repair and rebuilding. In very simple terms, you're giving your body permission to function the way it was designed to. And that is where real improvement begins. Now, once your body is able to regulate temperature more naturally during sleep, something else begins to shift in a very important way. And this is where we move into the second major benefit: hormonal balance. Most men over 50 are already aware of one word when it comes to hormones: testosterone. And yes, it naturally declines with age. That part is true. But what is often missed is how much of that decline is influenced by daily habits rather than age alone. Your body is constantly responding to signals from your environment: sleep quality, stress levels, temperature, even how relaxed or restricted your body feels at night. All of these factors influence whether your system supports testosterone production or suppresses it. When conditions are not ideal, your body shifts into a different mode, a survival mode. And in that state, one hormone tends to rise: cortisol. Now, cortisol is not inherently bad. In fact, it is essential for survival. But the problem begins when it stays elevated for too long, or becomes your default nighttime pattern. Cortisol is often described as a silent disruptor because it doesn't announce itself loudly. Instead, it slowly interferes with the systems you depend on most. It drains your energy without you noticing at first. It disrupts your sleep cycles. It reduces your natural drive. And over time, it can even affect sexual performance and emotional stability. Many men don't realize this is happening until the effects have already built up. They assume they are simply getting older or becoming less energetic naturally. But in reality, their hormonal environment has shifted. Now, here is where the connection becomes important. When your body struggles to cool down at night and your sleep becomes fragmented, your brain interprets that as stress. Even if you feel physically comfortable in bed, internally, your system is not fully at rest. And that is exactly the condition where cortisol begins to rise. This is where sleeping habits become more powerful than most people realize. When you sleep without restrictive clothing, your body temperature drops more efficiently. Your nervous system becomes calmer, and your brain receives a stronger signal that it is safe to enter deep rest. That shift alone changes your hormonal balance overnight. Because testosterone production does not happen randomly, it happens during specific phases of deep sleep, especially in the first part of the night. If that sleep is interrupted or shallow, your hormone output is reduced without any obvious warning signs. But when sleep quality improves, even slightly, the system responds. Better cooling leads to deeper sleep. Deeper sleep supports hormonal recovery, and hormonal recovery improves how you feel the next day. This is not an instant transformation. It is a gradual biological adjustment, but the direction is consistent. Men often report subtle changes first: waking up feeling less heavy, more mentally clear, a slight return of morning energy that had been missing for years. These are not dramatic effects, but they are meaningful because they indicate that the internal system is beginning to function more efficiently again. And there is another layer here that is worth understanding. When cortisol levels remain high over time, testosterone production is indirectly suppressed. It is almost like a balancing act inside the body. When stress hormones dominate, growth and recovery hormones step back. When recovery improves, the balance begins to shift again. This is why sleep is not just rest. It is regulatory. It is one of the most important hormonal reset periods your body has every single day. And small environmental changes, like reducing overheating at night, can influence that process more than most men expect. Now, I want to be clear here. Sleeping without clothes is not a treatment for hormonal imbalance. It is not a cure for low testosterone. It creates conditions that support your body's natural regulation systems. And in clinical experience, those conditions matter more than most people assume, because your body is always trying to restore balance. The question is whether your environment is helping it or working against it. And for many men over 50, nighttime overheating and poor sleep quality are silent contributors to that imbalance. When those factors are reduced, even slightly, the system becomes more stable, energy improves, mood becomes more consistent, and motivation begins to return in small but noticeable ways. Now, as this hormonal balance starts to stabilize, another important system begins to respond as well. And that brings us into the third benefit: circulation and physical performance. But before we go there, it is important to understand this simple principle. Your body does not separate systems the way we do in medicine. Hormones, sleep, circulation, and nervous system activity, all of them are connected. When one improves, others often follow. And that is exactly what we will explore next. As sleep quality improves and hormonal balance begins to stabilize, another system in the body starts responding in a very noticeable way. And this is where we move into the third major benefit: circulation and performance. Now, when we talk about circulation, many men immediately think of heart health or blood pressure. But circulation is much more than that. It is the foundation of how your entire body functions. It delivers oxygen to your muscles, nutrients to your tissues, and energy to every system that keeps you active and alert. Without proper blood flow, nothing works at its best. And for men over 50, this becomes especially important. Because circulation is often the first system to show early signs of decline, even before more serious conditions become visible. One of the clearest examples of this is sexual performance. And I want to be direct and clinical here. Erections are not just about desire. They are primarily a vascular event. That means they depend on healthy, unrestricted blood flow. If circulation is reduced, even slightly, the effect often shows up there first. That is why some experts refer to it as an early warning signal for vascular health. Not because it is the only indicator, but because it is sensitive. It responds quickly when blood flow is not optimal. Now, let's connect this back to nighttime habits. When a man sleeps in tight or insulating clothing night after night, several subtle things happen. There can be increased heat around sensitive areas. There can be mild restriction of natural movement, and over time, a less optimal environment for circulation during rest. These effects are not immediate or dramatic. They build slowly. But the body responds to consistency, not just intensity. Now, contrast that with sleeping without restrictive clothing. The body is freer. There is less heat retention. There is more natural airflow. And circulation is less likely to be externally restricted. During sleep, your body is already in a repair state. Blood flow naturally shifts toward recovery processes. Muscles repair. Tissues regenerate. Hormonal signals are processed. When circulation is not being obstructed, even indirectly, this recovery process becomes more efficient. And over time, that efficiency matters. Because better circulation does not only affect intimacy, it affects energy levels. It affects mental clarity. It affects how quickly your body recovers from daily stress. Now, there is another important aspect here that often gets overlooked: confidence. When the body responds consistently, when energy feels stable, and when physical performance is not unpredictable, it has a psychological effect as well. Men begin to feel more in control of their bodies again. Not because anything artificial has been introduced, but because the system is functioning more reliably. That sense of reliability is powerful, and it often becomes self-reinforcing. When you feel better physically, you move more. When you move more, circulation improves further. When circulation improves, energy increases again. It becomes a cycle in the right direction. There is also a relational component that is worth mentioning here. For men who have partners, sleeping without clothing can increase skin-to-skin contact. This physical contact stimulates the release of oxytocin, a hormone associated with bonding, trust, and emotional calm. Oxytocin is not just a romantic hormone. It plays a role in reducing stress levels and improving emotional connection between partners. So in this context, a simple change in sleep habits can have both physiological and relational effects. Now, for men who are not in a relationship, the benefit is different but still meaningful. Sleeping comfortably in your natural state can become a form of self-regulation. It reinforces the idea that your body does not need to be constantly constrained or managed. It supports comfort, acceptance, and physical awareness. And over time, that can improve how you relate to your own health. Now, to be clear, this is not a magic solution for circulation problems. It is not a treatment for cardiovascular disease, but it is a supportive habit, one that reduces unnecessary nighttime stress on the body. And when combined with good sleep hygiene overall, it contributes to a healthier internal environment. Because again, the body does not operate in isolated systems. Circulation, hormones, sleep quality, and nervous system activity are all interconnected. When sleep improves, circulation tends to improve. When circulation improves, recovery becomes more efficient. And when recovery improves, overall performance follows. This is why small habits can sometimes create surprisingly noticeable changes over time. Not because they override medical conditions, but because they support the body's natural functioning processes. And that is the key idea here. Your body already knows how to regulate itself. The goal is not to force change, but to remove unnecessary barriers. Now, in the next part, we will talk about how to actually start this habit in a practical, comfortable way, and how to make it sustainable without discomfort or awkwardness. Now that we've covered how temperature, hormones, and circulation are affected, the next logical question is simple. How do you actually start this in a realistic way without feeling uncomfortable or forcing yourself into something that doesn't feel natural at first? Because let's be honest, for many men, this idea feels unusual in the beginning. Not medically dangerous, but unfamiliar. And when something is unfamiliar, the body and mind both resist it at first. That's normal. So the goal here is not to shock your routine overnight. The goal is to gradually guide your body into a more natural sleeping environment in a way that feels easy and sustainable. Let's start with the simplest approach. If sleeping completely without clothes feels uncomfortable at first, you don't need to force it. You can begin with small steps. For example, reduce layers gradually. Start by removing tight underwear, or switch to looser, breathable fabrics, or simply sleep under a lighter sheet instead of heavy bedding. The idea is not perfection. The idea is progression. Your body adapts to changes slowly, especially when it comes to sleep. So giving it time is important. Now, another key part of this process is the environment you create around sleep itself. Because sleep is not just about what you wear, it is about the entire signal you send to your nervous system before bed. If your body is still in day mode, it will struggle to transition into deep rest. So simple adjustments matter. A warm shower before bed can help signal relaxation. It slightly lowers core body temperature afterward, which supports sleep onset. Fresh, clean sheets can also make a difference. Not because of luxury, but because the brain responds to cleanliness and comfort as safety signals. A calm environment also matters. Reducing bright screens, loud stimulation, or stressful input before bed allows the nervous system to settle. You are essentially preparing your body for recovery mode, not just physically, but neurologically. Now, when you combine these factors with sleeping in a more natural, unrestricted way, the effect becomes stronger. Because your body is receiving consistent signals. It is safe. It is cool. It is time to recover. And that consistency is what allows deeper sleep cycles to form more easily. Another important step is awareness. Not obsession, just awareness. After making this change, pay attention to how your sleep feels. Do you fall asleep faster? Do you wake up fewer times during the night? Do you feel more refreshed in the morning? Do you notice small shifts in energy or mood? These are not dramatic changes overnight. They are subtle signals that your system is responding. And often, men underestimate the importance of these small signals because they expect health changes to feel immediate and obvious. But in reality, biological improvement is usually gradual. It builds quietly in the background. Now, consistency is where most people either succeed or fail. Trying something for a night or two does not give your body enough time to adapt. Sleep is deeply habitual. Your nervous system remembers patterns. So the benefits come from repetition. When you give your body the same supportive conditions night after night, it begins to optimize around them. And over time, those small improvements accumulate. Better sleep quality becomes more stable. Hormonal patterns become more balanced. Recovery becomes more efficient. And eventually, what once felt different starts to feel normal. That is the point where change becomes sustainable. Now, there is something important I want to emphasize clearly here. This is not about perfection, and it is not about rigid rules. It is about removing unnecessary barriers that interfere with natural recovery. Your body is already designed to regulate sleep, hormones, and circulation. But modern habits sometimes interfere with that process without us realizing it. So the goal is not to add complexity. It is to simplify, and sometimes simplicity is the most powerful intervention of all. Now, before we move to the final part, I want you to understand this key idea. Small changes are often underestimated because they don't look dramatic. But biologically, consistency matters more than intensity. A small improvement repeated every night has more impact than a large change done occasionally. And that is exactly why something as simple as sleep environment and clothing choice can become meaningful over time. Because it is not a one-time action. It is a daily biological signal. And your body responds to that signal every single night. In the final part, we will bring everything together and talk about what this really means for long-term health, confidence, and vitality as a man over 50. Now let's bring everything together in a clear and practical way, because the real value here is not just understanding the science, but what it means for your daily life. We started with a simple idea. Even something as basic as how you sleep or what you wear to bed can influence your body in multiple important ways. First, temperature regulation. Your body naturally lowers its core temperature at night to enter deep sleep. When this process works smoothly, sleep becomes deeper and more restorative. But when heat is trapped by tight clothing or heavy bedding, this cooling process is disrupted. Even small disruptions can affect melatonin release, sleep quality, and recovery the next day. Then we looked at hormones. Sleep is one of the most important times for testosterone production in men, especially during deep sleep stages early in the night. When sleep is poor or fragmented, the body shifts towards stress chemistry, increasing cortisol levels. Over time, this can affect energy, motivation, mood, and physical performance. Next is circulation. Blood flow is essential for full body function. During proper sleep, the body repairs tissues, restores oxygen delivery, and supports vascular health. When circulation is unrestricted, recovery becomes more efficient. Even subtle improvements can influence morning energy, physical responsiveness, and overall vitality. When we combine all three, temperature, hormones, and circulation, a clear pattern appears. This is not about one dramatic change fixing everything. It is about reducing small barriers that interfere with the body's natural recovery process. Your body already knows how to regulate itself. It already knows how to restore balance and repair. The goal is simply to avoid interfering with that process during sleep. Sleeping without restrictive clothing is not a treatment or cure. It is a supportive habit that helps create better conditions for sleep and recovery. And in clinical experience, those conditions matter more than most people realize. The key is consistency. Health improvements do not come from one night of change, but from repeated daily habits. Small adjustments, repeated over time, shape long-term outcomes. If you try this, don't force it. Start gradually. Adjust your sleep environment. Pay attention to how your body responds. Let it adapt naturally. Because real physiological change takes time. It builds quietly through repetition. And the most important message is this: your body is still responsive. It is still capable of adaptation and recovery. Age does not stop your biology. It simply requires more intentional care. When you improve sleep conditions, reduce unnecessary stress at night, and support natural cooling, you are not doing something extreme. You are simply removing friction from a process your body already knows how to do. The result can be better rest, more stable energy, improved recovery, and greater physical confidence over time, not through force, but through alignment with natural function. So before sleep tonight, ask yourself, are you helping your body recover or unintentionally making it harder? Even a small change in the right direction can begin to shift things over time. And remember, your health is not shaped by one big decision. It is shaped by the small ones you repeat every day and night. I'm Dr. Jocelyn. Take care of your body, respect its signals, and let it do what it is designed to do: restore, recover, and thrive.